Picture this. You walk into a room, doesn't matter what room, a coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon, a friend's birthday dinner, a wedding, a co-working space, the cocktail hour before some industry thing you didn't really want to attend. There are about 20 people in the room, and in that room, there is one woman in particular. She is not the most beautiful one there. I want you to actually believe me when I say that. She is not the loudest. She is not laughing the hardest. She is not wearing the most attention-grabbing thing in the room. She is, objectively, just one of the women there. And yet, within about 8 seconds of her walking through the door, almost everyone in that room has made some quiet, subconscious adjustment around her. The men have located her. The women have either decided to like her or decided not to, which, as you know, is its own form of attention. The bartender notices her first when she lifts her hand. Conversations bend toward her without anyone meaning to bend them. You know exactly the kind of woman I mean. You've watched her your whole life. Sometimes she is your friend, which is a complicated thing to live with. Sometimes she is a stranger at a table across from you. Sometimes, and this is the part that genuinely breaks people, she is a woman you privately consider less attractive than yourself in the technical features of her face and her body, and yet somehow she has the room, and you have your drink. If you have ever wondered what she is doing, and, more uncomfortably, what you are not doing, I want you to give me the next half hour. I want to do something very specific with that time. I do not want to give you affirmations. I do not want to tell you you're enough exactly as you are and leave it there. You came here because something is not working and we are both adults. So we're going to talk about it honestly. We are going to walk slowly through what magnetism actually is. We are going to talk about where it lives in the nervous system. We are going to name the 4 silent killers of it, the 4 things almost every woman I have ever met who feels invisible is unknowingly doing. And then, in the second half, we are going to talk about how to slowly turn the dial back the other way. Not in a weekend, not in a TikTok. In about 90 days, the way real change actually happens. The reason this is going to matter is because almost everything you have read on this topic is wrong. The advice you have been given, dress better, smile more, be more confident, walk like you own the room, manifest abundance, raise your standards, do the affirmations in the mirror, all of that is downstream of one underlying thing. It is the underlying thing nobody is naming. We are going to name it tonight. So put this video on while you do your skincare. Put it on while you walk. Put it on at midnight while you are lying in bed pretending you'll fall asleep, but you won't, because something has been on your mind and you needed someone to say it out loud. Welcome to the Femme Frequency. I'm glad you're here. Let me start with the most common mistake. The reason most women in their 20s end up feeling invisible is not that they are doing too little, it is that they are doing too much. I want you to think about a specific scene. You're at a dinner. You like one of the men at the table. You want him to notice you. Watch what you do in that scenario. You laugh slightly too quickly at the things he says. You tilt your body toward him by a few degrees more than your body actually wanted to tilt. You wait for him to finish a sentence and then immediately fill the silence with something clever, something prepared, something designed. You start watching yourself from outside your own body. You start performing, and here's the cruel part. He feels it. Not consciously. He won't be able to articulate it, but his nervous system feels the effort, the leaning, the wanting, the watching yourself, and his nervous system reads it as not quite right. It registers as a social pressure, not enough to make him reject you, just enough to make him slightly turn his shoulders, 20 minutes later, toward a different woman at the table. The woman who didn't perform, This is what nobody tells you. Effort in the wrong direction repels. We have been raised in a culture that says, if you want a result, work harder for it. Want a good body? Train harder. Want a good career? Apply more. Want a man to like you? Be more impressive, be funnier, be more available, be more interesting. And in most domains, that linear logic works. More input creates more output. But in the domain of attraction, in the domain of presence, in the domain of being the woman in the room, the equation inverts. The harder you visibly try, the less the room responds. The more you stop trying, the more the room turns toward you. This is not motivational poster talk. There is an actual reason for it. Let me give it to you. When you visibly try, you communicate two things at the same time. The first is that you want something from the other person, their attention, their interest, their approval. The second, much louder, is that you do not currently have it. You are signaling lack. And humans, particularly in romantic and social hierarchies, are not attracted to lack. They are attracted to fullness. They are attracted to women who appear to already have what they themselves are looking for. The magnetic woman is not the woman who has been told to fake confidence. The magnetic woman is the woman who has, somewhere along the way, stopped needing the approval of the room to feel okay in her body. She walks in fully sourced. She does not need the pretender to notice her in order to feel beautiful. So, the bartender does. She does not need the man to like her in order to feel desired. So he does. She does not need the room to validate her in order to feel valuable. So the room turns. The technical term for this in psychology is self-sourcing. Your sense of worth is generated from inside the system rather than imported from outside it. And here is the part the spiritual content on the internet skips over. Self-sourcing is not a vibe. It is not affirmation. It is not waking up and telling yourself you are a queen. Self-sourcing is built through actual, repeated, internal experiences of meeting your own needs before anyone else does. We will get to how. First, we have to finish naming what is currently breaking it. There are 4 specific behaviors that, in my experience, watching women in their 20s and 30s for the last decade quietly destroy magnetism. They are not the things you would expect. They are not wearing the wrong outfit or not being thin enough. They are deeper than that. And the unsettling thing is that almost every woman who feels invisible is doing at least 3 of them on autopilot without realizing it. The first killer is what I call permission asking. Permission asking is when, throughout a conversation, you keep non-verbally checking whether you are still allowed to be there. You laugh, then glance at the other person to see if they liked the laugh. You make a comment, then watch their face to gauge whether it landed. You suggest a place to eat, then add, or wherever I don't mind, whatever you want. The other person registers this as low confidence, but at a deeper level, what they register is that you are operating with their nervous system as the reference point, not your own. They will mirror that. They will become the reference point. And they will lose interest because the center of gravity in the conversation has moved entirely onto them, and that is exhausting to carry. The fix for permission asking is not to stop checking other people's faces. That is impossible to do consciously. The fix is to spend more time in your own internal experience. Notice what your body wants. Notice when your back is tired. Notice when you actually like or dislike what the person is saying. Permission asking dies the moment you become more interested in your own reactions than in theirs. The second killer is overavailability. This one is subtle. Overavailability is when your schedule, your time, and your emotional bandwidth visibly rearrange themselves around whoever has currently asked for them. He texts at 6, you reply at 6:03. He suggests Saturday, you move 3 things to be free for Saturday. A friend asks for a favor, You drop everything and do it. On the surface, this looks like being a good, accommodating person. Underneath, it communicates that your own life does not have enough weight to hold you in place. And without weight, you cannot be magnetic, because magnetism is in the physics of it, the pulling of a smaller object into the gravitational field of a larger one. If your life has no gravity, no one is being pulled in. The fix for overavailability is not to play games. I want to be very clear about that. Playing games, waiting 2 hours to reply on purpose is just performed over availability. It still has the same energy underneath. The real fix is to actually have a life that is full, to have routines, friendships, projects, walks, books, morals, and that genuinely occupy you and that you would not interrupt for anyone, less than 5 out of 5 important. The third killer is approval seeking through achievement. This one is trickier because it sounds good. Approval seeking through achievement is when a significant portion of what you are doing in your life, your job, your fitness, your appearance, your dating life, the trips you post about, is being done with at least one eye on whether other people will be impressed. The career is partly real and partly a flex. The body is partly health and partly to be seen. The life is partly chosen and partly auditioned. When approval seeking through achievement becomes the dominant operating system, something quietly breaks. You stop being able to enjoy the things you've achieved, because the moment you achieve them, you immediately need the next thing. Because the reward you were chasing was not the achievement itself, but the imagined approval of an audience that does not actually exist. And other people feel this. They feel that something inside you is performing, even when you are alone. They cannot quite put their finger on it. They just sense that they are watching a presentation rather than meeting a person. The fix here is the slowest of the four. It is to start doing one or two things in your life that nobody else knows about. A practice, a study, a walk, a part of your morning that is entirely for you and is never posted, never told, never converted into a story for someone else. The presence of a few private domains in your life rebuilds an internal center. That internal center is what becomes magnetic. The fourth killer is the most painful to name. It is what I call abandonment of taste. You will know you are doing it when you find yourself, repeatedly, lowering your standards in small ways. You date someone who is not actually a fit, because nobody better is available right now. You take the job that doesn't quite match you, because you don't want to wait for the right one. You stay in a friendship that drains you, because you don't want to be the kind of person who lets a friendship go. Each of these decisions, taken in isolation, feels reasonable, even mature. Look at her. She's not picky. She's not high maintenance. She's flexible. And yet, every single one of those small abandonments leaves a residue inside the nervous system. The residue is, my preferences do not matter very much. My instincts can be overridden. My taste is negotiable. And once your own nervous system has agreed that your taste is negotiable, you stop transmitting taste outward, which is fatal. Because, and I want you to write this down somewhere, magnetism is taste made visible. The woman in the room is not the most beautiful one. She is the one whose preferences are intact. You feel the integrity of her preferences before you ever exchange a word. That is what you are reading as magnetism. The fix for abandonment of taste is to start practicing small, low-stakes refusals. The wrong coffee, the wrong invitation, the wrong tone from a friend. Practice saying, with no apology, no, that is not for me. Build the muscle slowly. Within a few weeks, your nervous system will recalibrate. Other people will begin to feel a different woman walking into the room. Now we get to the part that, in my opinion, almost no other video on this topic ever gets to. The four killers are the surface. They are observable. You can write them down. Below them is something deeper. Below them is the actual inner state of a magnetic woman. And once you understand the inner state, the surface behaviors start to fix themselves. The inner state has three components. The first component is what psychologists who work with women's psychology have started calling internal locus of attention. This is a fancy phrase for a simple thing. Where, in any given moment, is your attention actually pointing? For most women, in a social or romantic setting, attention is pointing outward. It is reading the room. It is anticipating reactions. It is constantly modeling what other people are thinking. The magnetic woman's attention, by contrast, is pointing inward at least half of the time. She is checking in with what her own body wants. Is she enjoying this conversation? Is she actually hungry? Is the music annoying her? Does she like this man? She does not lose track of the room, but the room is not where she lives. She lives inside herself, and that is what people are responding to. They are responding to a person who is at home in her own house. You can practice this. Try this for 1 week. The next time you are in a slightly anxious social situation, take one full breath and ask yourself internally, what am I actually feeling in my body right now? Not what should I feel? What am I feeling? Your shoulders will say something. Your stomach will say something. Your throat will say something. Just listen for a few seconds. Then go back to the conversation. This single repeated act, done 100 times over the next 2 months, rebuilds internal locus of attention more reliably than any affirmation ever has. The second component is what I am going to call permitted desire. The magnetic woman is allowed to want things. That sounds obvious. It is not. Most women in their 20s have, somewhere along the line, absorbed the rule that wanting too much is unattractive. So they downplay their wanting. They pretend they don't really care about the outcome. They affect a kind of nonchalance about everything, about the relationship, about the career, about the life they actually want. And other people feel the suppression. They feel that the woman is sitting on something, hiding something, dampening something. That dampening is what reads as flat. The magnetic woman is openly wanting. She wants the man, she wants the job, she wants the house, she wants the life, and she is not afraid of being seen wanting these things. The wanting itself is what people are drawn to. People are drawn to other people who are alive, and wanting is what aliveness looks like. The reason her wanting does not come off as desperate is that, crucially, her wanting is not contingent on the wanted thing arriving. She wants the man. She also has full confidence that if it is not this man, it will be another. So the wanting is full but unanxious. That combination is rare, and it is what people read as magnetic. To practice permitted desire, start by being more honest internally about what you actually want. Stop telling yourself you don't really care about the job you actually care about. Stop telling yourself you'd be fine if the relationship ended when you wouldn't be. Just admit it to yourself first. The external practice comes later. The internal admission is the first step. The third component, and this is the one that scares people, is willingness to be disliked. The magnetic woman has at some point made internal peace with the fact that some people are going to dislike her. Not most people, just some. And she has decided that this is the price of being a defined, recognizable, real person, rather than a soft, agreeable shape that everyone vaguely likes, but nobody actually remembers. You can feel this in a woman within minutes of meeting her. Either she is shaped or she is not. Either she has edges or she does not. The edges are what you remember her by, and edges always cost her a few people. The woman who has decided that those few people are an acceptable cost is the woman who walks in with full presence, because no part of her is leaking energy into the management of universal approval. All her energy is available for the room. All her energy is available for the man. All her energy is available for herself. If I had to name the single thing that separates the magnetic woman from the invisible one, it would be this: the willingness to be slightly disliked by people who do not matter, in exchange for being fully met by the people who do. There is one more thing I want to say about willingness to be disliked, because the internet has flattened this idea into something embarrassing. It does not mean being cruel. It does not mean being a difficult woman for the sake of being a difficult woman. It does not mean cultivating an air of icy unapproachability. All of those are performances of being disliked, which is itself just a different form of permission asking. You are still asking for the approval. You are just asking for it from a different audience. Real willingness to be disliked is gentle. It is just the quiet understanding, somewhere in your chest, that you are a specific person with specific preferences, and that some people are not going to fit with that, and that this is okay. It is not a wall, it is a shape. The woman with a shape is the woman the room remembers. That is all. Before we get to the rebuild, I want to spend a few minutes on the body, because everything I have said so far happens in the nervous system, not in the mind. And if you do not understand that, you will keep trying to fix this with thinking, and thinking will not fix it. Magnetism is a regulated nervous system. That is the technical version. A regulated nervous system means that your body is not in fight, freeze, or fawn at baseline. It is in what therapists call ventral vagal, which is the social engagement state. Your shoulders drop, your breathing slows, your face becomes mobile and expressive rather than tense and watchful. Your eye contact softens. Your voice drops a few semitones because your throat is not braced. Other people's nervous systems pick this up within seconds because the human nervous system is constantly scanning the people around it to decide whether to relax or stay on guard. When you are regulated, you give other people permission to relax. They like you for that permission. They do not know they like you for that permission, but they do. When you are dysregulated, the opposite happens. Your shoulders sit slightly up. Your breathing is shallow. Your face is reading the room. Your eye contact is intense in the wrong moments and absent in the right ones. Other people's nervous systems pick this up too, and they unconsciously brace. They cannot rest near you, so they don't. This is why almost every magnetic woman I have ever known has, somewhere in her life, a regular practice that regulates her nervous system. It might be yoga. It might be cold water. It might be long walks. It might be a specific breathing practice in the morning. It might be journaling. It is rarely anything dramatic. It is almost always something boring and repeatable that she does several times a week. The boring, repeatable practice is what makes her magnetic, not the lipstick. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. You cannot think your way into magnetism. You can only embody your way into it. And embodying means actually doing things with your body repeatedly until your nervous system settles into a new baseline. Now we can talk about how to actually turn this around. Not in a weekend, in about 90 days. Here is roughly what that looks like, and I am going to give it to you, not as a checklist, but as a sequence, because the order matters. The first 30 days are about subtraction. You are not adding anything yet. You are removing things. Specifically, you are removing the 4 silent killers from your daily life, 1 a week. Week 1, you watch yourself for permission asking and you simply notice it. Don't try to stop, just notice. Notice how many times a day you tilt your body, your voice, your face, looking for approval. Week 2, you do the same with overavailability. Notice how often you rearrange your time around other people's requests. Week 3, approval seeking through achievement. Week 4, abandonment of taste. You will be horrified by how much you are doing. That is fine. Horror is the first sign of consciousness. You cannot fix what you cannot see. The next 30 days are about installation. You are now building the inner state. Every morning, before your phone, you spend 10 minutes inside yourself, not meditating in some pure way, just sitting somewhere quiet and asking yourself what you actually want today. Not what you should do, what you want. You write it down. You let yourself want it without justification. You also begin practicing the small refusals, one refusal a day, to rebuild your sense that your Tate is real. The final 30 days are about embodiment. By now, the inner state has begun to shift. You will notice that you walk slightly differently. You will notice that conversations bend toward you more often. You will notice that you stop checking your phone as compulsively because you have stopped outsourcing your nervous system to whatever is happening in it. This is the period where you stop trying to do anything and just start living as the new version. The room will respond. The man will respond. The friends will respond. Some of them, by the way, will not love it. The friends who needed you small will pull away. That is part of the process. Let them. There is no day 91 where it is suddenly done. Magnetism is not a destination. It is a state of nervous system regulation, and like any nervous system state, it has to be maintained. You will fall back into permission asking. You will fall back into overavailability. The point of these 90 days is not to make you permanently magnetic. The point is to make you fluent in the difference between when you are and when you are not, so that when you slip out of it, which you will, you know exactly where you went and exactly how to come back. Let me give you a concrete picture of what these 90 days might actually look like in a normal woman's life, because abstractions are easy and execution is hard. Imagine a woman called Lena. She's 26. She works in marketing. She has a long-term situation with a man who is technically her boyfriend, but who, if she is honest, has not chosen her in a real way in about a year. She has the friends from university, two of whom she has outgrown but cannot quite bring herself to release. She wakes up most mornings and goes immediately to her phone. She checks his messages first. She checks her work email second. She checks Instagram third. By the time she is brushing her teeth, she has absorbed roughly 14 people's lives into her nervous system, and her own life has not even started yet. Week 1 of the rebuild, Lena does one thing. She moves her phone out of her bedroom. It charges in the kitchen. She buys a $12 alarm clock. The first morning, she wakes up disoriented. By the 5th morning, she is sitting on the edge of her bed with her eyes closed for 30 seconds before she stands up, and she has noticed that her left shoulder is tight, and she has registered that she does not actually want to go into the office today, and she has had what is, technically, her first thought of the day that did not arrive through a screen. Week 3, she notices she has been over-replying to her boyfriend. She tries something. She replies when she actually wants to, not when his message lands. The first time, it is uncomfortable. The second time, it is uncomfortable. The third time, he says something that, in another context, would have been a complaint. She does not defend herself. She just says, "I understand you feel that way." And then she goes back to her evening. Something has shifted in her chest. It is small. She does not articulate it yet, but it is there. Week 6, she has a moment in a meeting where she would normally have softened her opinion. She doesn't. She says the thing she actually thinks. A man across the table looks at her differently for about 3 seconds. She notices. She files it. Week 10, she ends the relationship. It is not dramatic. It is one quiet conversation in a kitchen on a Sunday. She is not even sad in the way she expected to be. She is mostly relieved that she does not have to keep performing being chosen when she was not. Week 12, she walks into a Christmas party. She is wearing the same kind of dress she has worn for the last 3 years. Her hair is the same. Her face is the same. And yet, two separate strangers approach her in the first 20 minutes. One of them, on the way home, she finds herself thinking about. Not in a desperate way, in a curious way. I am not telling you that story to give you a fantasy. I am telling you that story because it is roughly what 90 days actually look like in a real woman's life. Slow, quiet, mostly unglamorous, small refusals, small noticings, small repatternings. None of it would look like much from outside. All of it stacks. A few people have asked me over the years what the inside of a magnetic woman's life actually looks like once she's settled into it. The honest answer is, it looks less interesting than you would expect. It looks like a woman who goes to bed at a reasonable hour. It looks like a woman who has 2 or 3 close friendships rather than 15 acquaintances. It looks like a woman who cancels things sometimes. It looks like a woman who can be alone on a Saturday and not feel like the universe has forgotten her. The visible glamour is not what is interesting about her. The interesting thing is what is missing. What is missing is the low-level anxiety that used to be running underneath every interaction, the constant scanning of other people's faces, the compulsive checking of the phone, the need to be excellent at everything just to feel acceptable. All of that has quieted, not gone, quieted. She still has the bad days. Of course she does. Anyone who tells you they have permanently transcended the inner critic is selling you something. What is different is that on the bad days, she has a relationship with herself that is not contingent on her performing well. She can have a bad day and still know that she is okay. That is the whole difference. And from the outside, that translates as magnetism, because most people in the room are operating in some quiet state of self-rejection. And a woman who is not in self-rejection is simply easier to be around, lighter, more restful, more present. Other people's nervous systems lean toward her because their own systems can finally relax. That is the technical mechanism. That is what we have been calling magnetism this entire time. It is, in the end, just the absence of self-rejection, visible on the surface. The reason this video exists is that I have watched, over years, a particular pattern in young women. They come into their early 20s believing that if they just optimize enough, the right body, the right job, the right outfits, the right Instagram, the right wit at dinner, they will be wanted. They will be chosen. They will be magnetic. They work very hard at all of it. And then, somewhere around 26 or 27, they sit alone in their car after another dinner where they were the most polished woman at the table and somehow still went home with their phones silent. And they wonder, in a quiet voice, what is wrong with me? The answer is not what is wrong with you. The answer is what you have been doing with the wrong currency. You have been spending effort and getting back nothing because the room does not respond to effort. The room responds to presence, and presence is not something you can perform. Presence is what is left when you stop performing. This is the quiet truth. The woman in the room you have been watching all these years is not doing more than you. She is doing less. She has stopped trying to be enough, which is precisely what made her enough. The whole game inverts at that point. The room turns toward her, not because she earned it, but because she stopped trying to earn it. I am not going to wrap this up with 3 takeaways. I am not going to ask you to subscribe. If this video found you on a night when you needed it, you already know what to do. You already know what to subtract this week. You already know who in your life has been silently asking you to be smaller. You already know whose approval you have been trying to win, and you already know that you are not going to win it, and that you do not need to. Go to sleep. Tomorrow morning, before your phone, ask yourself what you actually want today. Then move slowly through the day with that one thing as your reference point. Just one day at first. See what happens. I will see you on Friday. This was the Femme Frequency. Quiet truths for the woman she's becoming. Good night.